Hey everyone, welcome back to Learner's World. Today's video is going to go over the Great Depression. I'll have a Quizlet and a fill-in-the-blank note sheet linked into the description box below, so without further ado, let's get started. Starting off with the causes of the Great Depression. So first up, we have the stock market crash of 1929. This occurred after a period of speculative buying in which people borrowed money to buy stocks. When stock prices fell, investors couldn't repay loans they had taken out. So then next we have the banking panics and failures. After the stock market crash, bank failures had become widespread, partly due to some of the banks making poor investment choices or just having bad loans in general. Without deposit insurance, when a bank failed, people lost their money, creating a bank run as people rushed to get their money from healthy banks. So then we have the issue of government policies. So there was the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, which imposed high tariffs on imported goods, leading to retaliatory tariffs from other countries, leading to a collapse in global trade. And then also the issue of the Federal Reserve's monetary policy. It failed to prevent the money supply from contracting or address the banking crisis effectively. And some other factors include the drought. So there was a severe drought that took place in the American Midwest, which ruined family farms and caused economic conditions to worsen for many families. And also the issue of overproduction and underconsumption. Some historians point to an imbalance between the production of goods and the ability of consumers to purchase them, exacerbated by the unequal distribution of wealth. Next, we have the effects. So the industrial production from 1929 to 1933 fell nearly 47%. Gross domestic production, or GDP, declined nearly 30%. Unemployment was up over 20%, and due to the banking panics, 20% of banks in existence during 1930 had failed by 1933. Responses to the Great Depression. During the 12-plus years following the Great Depression, multiple plans were put into place to assist the economy and plights of people. President Herbert Hoover believed that minimal government intervention would overcome the crisis, though his message of self-determination and patience still found 25% of wage-earning workers, which at that point was over 15 million Americans, were still unemployed in the 1930s. In 1932, when Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected, the government intervened with a series of stimulus strategies, which were heralded as the New Deal. Over the following decade, the Roosevelt administration developed programs under the First New Deal and the Second New Deal. Conditions during the Great Depression. So plummeting prices. Consumer prices fell by 25%. Wholesale prices fell by 32%. Bank failures. Between 1930 and 1933, over 7,000 banks failed. Then there was also poverty and homelessness. Millions lost their homes and savings, leading many families to double up in crowded housing or live in shanty towns called Hoovervilles. There was malnutrition and health issues, so the lack of food during the time caused widespread nutrition and other public health problems. There was family strain. The economic stress placed a tremendous burden on families, contributing to a rise in the national suicide rate and an increase in men abandoning their families. Increased mobility. Many people became hobos or traveling hobos, riding freight trains to search for work across the country. And then, of course, there was the Dust Bowl, which was the severe drought mentioned earlier, along with dust storms in the Great Plains, creating the Dust Bowl, causing massive ecological damage and exacerbating the crisis for farmers. African Americans in the Great Depression. So agriculturally, failing crop prices and new farm machinery displaced the sharecroppers. And there was some federal aid programs put into place, like the AAA or AAA. Urban jobs in cities, they were often pushed out of jobs to make way for white workers facing immense competition for scarce work in factories, laundries, and domestic service. Higher unemployment was also something seen in the Black community at this time, because Black employment rates were significantly higher than white rates, with some southern cities seeing over half of the Black workers needing public assistance. New Deal programs put in place for them. So while some relief from FARA or CCC helped, New Deal programs often excluded Black people and were administered locally in discriminatory ways, influenced by Southern Democrats. Housing and unemployment. So there was discrimination that was rampant in housing projects and unemployment, with whites often demanding Black workers be fired first. There was quite a bit of violence. Racial violence, including lynchings, increased, highlighting the pervasive racism. Community support. Black churches and community groups organized aid, pooling resources, and sharing living spaces. There was organized resistance, so activists and groups like the NAACP pushed for change, while Black women led boycotts and labor actions highlighting exploitation. There was the labor movement, so the CIO began organizing Black workers into unions, offering new opportunities for solidarity and power. And some shifting movements, so the Great Migration slowed as northern opportunities dried up, but many still moved, while some returned south, facing hardship in both regions. Black Thursday, so panic selling on the morning of October 24, nervous investors began to sell their shares en masse, causing prices to plummet. The market opened 11% lower than the previous day's close. Record volume. A record 12.9 million shares were traded by the end of the day, a volume 3 times higher than normal trading amounts, overwhelming the stock ticker system, which ran hours behind. The confusion caused by the lack of up-to-date information only fueled more panic. Banker intervention. A group of leading bankers from institutions like Morgan Bank and Chase National Bank pooled a large sum of money, up to $750 million, and began buying stocks at above market prices to stabilize the market and restore confidence. Their intervention produced a moderate rally by the close of the day, but it was a temporary fix. While Black Thursday initiated the crash, the most severe drops occurred the following week on Black Monday, October 28th, and Black Tuesday, October 29th. By the time the market bottomed out in July 1932, it had lost nearly 90% of its values. The crash, which wiped out thousands of investors and eliminated billions of dollars in wealth, shattered public confidence in the economy. This led to sharp reductions in consumer spending and business investment, which in turn caused factories to slow production and fire workers. The ensuing bank failures and rising unemployment across the globe propelled the world into the deepest and longest economic downturn in modern history, known as the Great Depression. Franklin D. Roosevelt's fireside chats, so the purposes were to explain complex issues such as the New Deal programs and wartime policies in simple, easy-to-understand terms, build trust and restore confidence, gain public support for policies, inform and reassure, and to unite the nation. The content of the chats so they saw topics ranging from domestic issues like the economy and recovery programs to foreign policy and the progress of the war. Format, it was informal, conversational, and quite relaxed, which made complex political and economic issues easier for the public to understand and relate to. The impact, so the chats marked a new era in presidential communication, enabling FDR to bypass the press and speak directly to the nation, fostering a sense of unity and connection. Social Security. So the Great Depression directly led to the creation of the Social Security Act of 1935. It was a key component of FDR's New Deal programs. How the Great Depression led to Social Security. So one, widespread hardship. The economic collapse of the 1930s left millions of Americans, particularly the elderly, who could no longer work, in poverty. Two, lack of existing programs. At the time, there was no national system providing for financial security to the elderly or unemployed. Support was largely a matter for families and local or state governments. Three, the government response. In response to the suffering, President Roosevelt established the Committee of Economic Security, which recommended an old age insurance program. And for the passage of the Act, so the Social Security Act was signed into law on August 14th, 1935, establishing a national framework for social welfare and laying the groundwork for a permanent system of old age benefits, unemployment insurance, and aid for the disabled and dependent children. And also the creation of the Works Progress Administration, or WPA. So why was it created? High unemployment, with unemployment at 20% by 1935. Dole versus work. Roosevelt believed direct handouts destroyed spirits, so the WPA focused on providing meaningful jobs for able-bodied people. Economic stimulation. The goal was to stimulate the economy by putting people to work on projects that built lasting infrastructure. Key aspects, so infrastructure, built roads, bridges, over 75,000 bridges, over 125,000 or roughly 125,000 public buildings, parks and airports, arts and culture. This was federal project number 1. So it employed artists, musicians, writers, and actors through programs like the Federal Arts Project, Writers Project, and Theater Project. The scale, so it employed over 8.5 million people in total, becoming the largest New Deal agency. And leadership-wise, it was directed by Harry Hopkins. It was a federal agency that managed projects directly, unlike earlier state-run efforts. And the legacy, the WPA left a significant mark on America, creating essential infrastructure and supporting the arts, while fundamentally shifting the federal government's role in providing work relief during the economic crises. So that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found the video helpful. If you did find it helpful, please hit that thumbs up button. And if there's a topic you'd want to learn more about in a future video, please leave it in the comment section below. And I hope you'll have a great day. Bye!